As the year ends, you may have noticed we've been looking at several different important stories of the year. The next one is political. This is one of the most impactful political stories, and it's the blue wave that is returning the Speaker's gavel to Nancy Pelosi. Now, this is a story that many D.C. pundits miss by fixating on predictions or overreacting to Trump. But now that the ballots have all been counted, we know the Dems won a record-breaking 40 seats with an 8-point national margin. You're looking at the Dems' largest wave in 40 years, a wave that you may recall was often obscured by pundits on election night.
Tonight, there was some hope that the Democrats would have a wave election. It's not going to be a wave election.
But I have to say, when you look at what's going on here tonight, this is not a blue wave. This is not a wave that is knocking out all sorts of Republican incumbents.
The Democrats are running about where they hoped to if they were going to pick up 30 seats, but not where they were hoping if they're going to pick up 35 or 40.
This is heartbreaking, though. It's heartbreaking. Not a blue wave, but it's still a blue war.
With regard to the blue wave, I feel more like I got purple rain.
Ha ha ha. Except that wasn't true. It wasn't very purple. The blue wave delivered 40 seats for Dems. Now, to be fair, one of the news outlets you just saw has updated its analysis.
But I have to say, when you look at what's going on here tonight, this is not a blue wave. This is not a wave that is knocking out all sorts of Republican incumbents.
But it was a blue wave, and that same outlet later reported it was, quote, a tsunami, noting Democrats crushed Republicans, their margin of 8%, the largest for a minority party heading into an election since 1942. This wave, or tsunami, is not only reshaping Congress. It reveals something vital about the American electorate. Voters oppose Trump and his party by historic proportions now. What you see is not a correction. It is a record-breaking rebuke of Trumpism. And history shows this popular margin is actually larger than the midterm victories that the D.C. class was quick to celebrate, like Newt Gingrich's 94 wave or the 2010 Tea Party backlash to Obama.
The Republican revolution of election 94 shook Capitol Hill like an earthquake today.
Indeed, the House is Republican, the Senate is Republican, the majority of governorships now Republican, the nation right now, it would seem, is Republican.
This is a wake-up call to President Obama that they view this as the voters speaking and a rejection in what they're doing for the past 20 months.
That was the D.C. conventional wisdom about the red waves those years. So let's look at it. Here you can see the GOP margins for those midterms. And here is the 2018 Democratic edge in the midterms, larger than both of them, topping 8% nationwide, larger than any Democratic pickup since Nixon's criminal presidency. Those are the electoral facts this year. If you feel like you haven't heard much about this, that may be because so many pundits were on the wrong side of the wave. It can be uncomfortable to lean into a story that involves fact-checking yourself, though some have done so, including CNN's Van Jones, who we showed earlier. Now, too, there are others who simply overreact to Trump. They let him hijack headlines, as one analyst discussed in recent news in a segment that was about how the blue wave was bigger than pundits realize on election night.
Did the news media underappreciate the strength of the blue wave in the House on Tuesday night? 5 days later, it sure looks that way.
Trump, again on Wednesday, quickly changed the narrative. Listen, I was in my editor's office Wednesday afternoon pitching a Thursday morning online, Sunday print piece analyzing the role of political TV advertising in the governor's race in Maryland. And people were sticking their heads in going, Zerwick, you got to see this press conference. Trump is totally off the rails. You know, halfway through my pitch, I said, forget it. I'm writing about the press conference.
There'll always be another press conference, another feud, another tweet. But there's only one election every other year. There's only one chance to hear the voters in a midterm during each presidential term in office. So it's pretty important to make sure we know what voters just said this year. They voted against Trump by a record-breaking margin in 2018, an even wider margin than they did in 2016, when more people chose Trump's opponent, but he won the Electoral College. So what are we to make of this here at the end of the year? There's a lot of talk about Americans being divided in the Trump era. And that's true. But it's only part of the story. The larger electoral reality is that from the moment Trump entered office, More Americans opposed him than backed him. He assumed the presidency within our constitutional rules, but not with a majority mandate or a whole lot of legitimacy. And faced with a resistance that is larger than his base, Trump then led his party into this crushing midterm defeat last month. So this resistance is now even larger, and the GOP base looks to be smaller. That is a huge story for this year and next. Call it a tsunami story if you want. It's pretty important, even if the pundits never saw it coming. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.